I'm turning to page 142. This chapter is called The Ultimate Question. So it's dealing with Mashiach. That's a pretty sensational topic to end a tape with. Shlomo starts saying, the tzaddikim gathered together before God and asked him, "You are creating the world, but when are you sending Mashiach? When are you redeeming the world?" Okay, so that's the ultimate question. And Shlomo is going to make a distinction here between that kind of question, ultimate question about Mashiach, which in a sense will blow the whole thing apart, with the other kind of questions, which are haggling kind of questions, this or that, I should do this, should wear that, shouldn't wear that, I should say that, shouldn't say that. And so the main point Shlomo wants to make first of all is that, like he says, he gives an example of you want to tell somebody, some woman you want to marry her, okay? So are you going to tell her yourself? You're going to send a messenger. Well, obviously you tell her yourself. You wouldn't send a messenger. And even something as important as the redemption of the world, Shlomo disapproves of sending messages. For example, Moses, in this context, was merely a messenger, and the written Torah that was received on Sinai is merely a message. But it's not the main thing. This sounds a little bit like Shabtai Tzvi and all that kind of stuff. So Shlomo says, there are certain questions where I don't even want God to send me a messenger via a prophet to let you know. Now listen to this deepest depths. I want you to open your hearts. The Torah was given to us through a messenger, through Moshe Rabbeinu. Basically, the Torah is not so much about questions and answers. So he's saying the questions and answers that were answered by the Torah that was received on Mount Sinai are not really what the Torah about. That's the written Torah, but the Torah Shebal Peh, the Torah that is spoken Torah, in other words, which comes out of living experience here and now in a person's life as an individual, is somehow in a much higher level than the endless questions and answers that are somehow a rational mind. Even if we speak inductively, in Gestalt therapy, as long as it's an endless series of spiraling without a logical break that jumps off into the unknown, it's not kosher somehow. It's still on a level of written Torah, because it's dealing with X minus X issues, haggling, even on the biggest levels of haggling. It's still, for example, unfinished business when you're saying goodbye to a parent, and suddenly you work 3 hours and you work to yourself at a very high level and you're expressing your sadness, you're crying and all that stuff. But if it happened organically, slowly, little by little, it almost doesn't qualify as an explosion. Fritz Perls would say, oh, but it's an explosion, but on a very low level. That's different than the kind of sensationalized explosion we're talking about here in the Platonic model. Shlomo says, everybody knows that on Tisha B'Av we don't learn Torah. In other words, we don't learn written Torah. We don't want to learn the Torah, which was given to me through Moshe Rabbeinu. I only want to hear the answer from God because Mashiach is God's answer. The idea that it's true, he mentions here that God somehow tells them to Abraham that the answer to the big question of all, for example, why do the Jews inherit this land, has to come from the messianic idea, this kind of explosive Platonic model. Because the Jews want to hear each individual wants to hear the answer from God himself. So this goes back to the idea of contact and withdrawal. I do all this work, I get to the extreme opposites. Like, this is again, Nachman of Bresov, as a pietist would say, you find God in the city of Rome where things were so screwed up, so opposite, so... it makes you think of Saint Genet, the novel that Sartre wrote about, this arch villain Genet, at least from a puritanical point of view, that somehow or other finds God through his evil, and through all kinds of stuff he does. it's that kind of an example here, because the individual on the deepest personal level of Platonic ideas coming from the void and all that stuff out of the extreme opposites of suffering and longing. For example, Abraham and Sarah longing for the child. The child somehow doesn't really deserve to be born until he's been longed for 100 years. The extremes of emotions here, you know, this is a kind of El Greco, Van Gogh world here, that the carlebach torah and lifestyle is. And for this reason it appeals to this kind of emotionally driven, very highly fired up crowd, and there's a lot of beauty in that, as long as it's balanced, of course, by the other side. And the trouble is, for example, a person like me, now here I am giving over what I would say is a very important attempt to make sense out of a lot of the Shlomo Carlebach's jargon and stories and emotional brouhaha. And I probably will be totally rejected by that community because I'm trying to make sense out of something which really should be nonsense, should be above and beyond logic and all that stuff. You know, I'm interfering with this pure emotional bliss of the carlebach minion. Well, if that happens, that's a shame, you know. Just like it has happened with my experience with the Breslovers. They don't know and they don't want to know when it comes to the philosophical foundations of their religion. I hope the same thing doesn't happen with the carlebach people, but so far it has happened. We'll see if it will happen. Okay, so I think I said most of what I want to say here. So again, from Abraham Avinu on, God wanted to show miracles in regard to children. So this is a religion based on miracles, pietism, faith, contortions, extremes, which is beautiful to an extent, as long as there's also the other side, the Aristotelian, the Maimonides, the rationalism, the Chabad, we need them both, and we need a proper balance. We need a person capable of going with the emotional explosions, and also a person not willing to be just a lemming following a guru. We need a balance, middle way. Of course, carlebach religion, just like Breslov, the emphasis is on the side of on the Platonic dialectic. That's fine, as long as it's balanced. Okay, I'd like to see that. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing it. My experience with Breslovers and carlebachers so far is too much emotions, not enough thinking. No problem of finding thinking among the Chabadniks, but there you have to dig to find the emotions. So I don't know. I don't have the answers. But I think I see the question pretty clearly, and I think this book helps me to see better exactly the situation and what it is and why it is. Okay, so that's it for now. I'm probably going to go on and make more videos about carlebach. There's a lot more here to find, but I think I've done a decent job a little bit with exploring the idea of what is a covenant and the two opposite covenants and how Shlomo deals with them in various anecdotes here, stories. All right. Thank you.